Welcome to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. This is not your typical financial radio show. As a licensed CPA, insurance agent, and investment advisory representative, Chris coaches his clients on a holistic view of financial well-being with an objective of providing a complete financial strategy to fund life's goals. Chris is here to guide you down the path to the financial serenity you deserve. Now, here's Chris Cooper.
Good morning, folks. Okay, we are in the middle of that Thanksgiving weekend hangover. It's okay. It's okay. We're going to get back into it here. You got Christmas coming up now. We got one holiday down. It's that time of year. It's full on ramp up mode for Christmas at this point in time. You can get your Christmas trees out. It's the time of year. But before you do that, we're going to talk about something that I near and dear to my heart: business planning, succession planning, exit planning, and strategic guidance for business owners out there. And so joining me in studio, we have great expert, Cheryl Lauer, L10. How are you?
I'm good, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in. Now, do you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I got some fun plans coming up.
There you go. That's good. That's good. Well, now, are you a early Christmas planning kind of person?
I am, particularly this year.
Yeah, well, Thanksgiving was late this year.
It was, and yeah, I'm just getting a jump start on it to just make it a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Instead of rushing through the process, just really having a little fun with it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and it is late this year, and you don't even think about that. But I'm like, I'm the kind of person that's like, I like to have the Thanksgiving without the Christmas kind of involvement.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
me.
Well, then you don't want to be at my house.
No, well, I think that's everyone's house though. It's okay. I think I'm not the normal one here, so
Well,
that's okay.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah. But so all right, so we're talking. We're out of the Thanksgiving time frame. Christmas is full speed ahead here. End of year is coming up here. It's right around the corner. And business owners, that's kind of a big marker, right? A lot of us have those year-end goals, those year-end transitions, and there's some things you can maybe put into play with 1 month left of the year. I'm finalizing some 401ks for some people, making sure you got the right tax deductions in place. But this is also that good time where we start transitioning more towards thinking about goals, right? And I have a feeling a lot of what you do to help business owners is really about goal development.
Yes, I do a lot of goal setting. Really, a lot of my focus has been on the execution part.
Okay.
So a lot of people do big strategy sessions, annual planning.
Yeah.
They can have really successful planning sessions, but a lot of times that falls apart on the execution side. So once you get into January, that's really when the hard work starts.
Yeah.
So the consistent focus to achieve those goals.
And I have a feeling when you set up some of these goals are pretty big, right? It's good to start, have great big goals, but you have to break this down into little pieces, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Often, how to eat the elephant, one bite at a time.
Sure.
But a lot of times it is the action plan behind the goals.
Mm-hmm.
So, starting with, as far out as you feel like you can plan, 5 or 10 years even, but definitely 3 years out, really getting a vision of where you're going, and then just planning, well, what are we going to do next year that's going to drive us towards that bigger picture? And then what are we going to do each quarter? And what are we going to do each month and each week and each day? And really having those action plans and accountability.
Yeah. Well, and I think this applies to, we all have to think about goals in certain ways, right? You have to think about that long-term vision, and then you have to develop shorter-term things that kind of fit in with that. But they need to be interconnected. And I think a lot of people lose sight of being able to make sure that all of them are connected to that one big picture.
They do. Yeah. And entrepreneurs often, are challenged with shiny objects.
Yeah.
And
I'm guilty as charged, right?
Yeah. Pretty much all of us. But yeah, it's, could be fun and exciting to, start a new project, or something can seem important. But if it doesn't align with your long-term vision, it might just be a detour.
Right. Right. Well, and we always hear that key phrase, a lot of times it's easy to work in your business. It's not easy to step back and look and work on your business.
Yep.
Right. And this is a good time to kind of reflect on that, and make sure you're working on that business in some ways as well, because that business has its own set of goals, its own set of objectives, and you got to make sure that it supports your vision as well.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I really like, as part of the goal planning, doing like vision or dream boards,
Hmm.
and really helping people visualize uh, what the what the future is that they're trying to build. And
Yeah.
I've actually done that with my son and my nephews. It's never too early to start that process of
Right.
visualizing what you want your life to really look like.
Hmm.
It can be fun and a good way to help others understand what your goals are too.
Absolutely. And again, this is something that's very easy to think about and talk about from an individual basis perspective, but it's just that much more important for a small business or an entrepreneur type focus, because those measures for success define who you are and how you're putting food on the table, how you're serving your community, and all those different aspects. And it's a little bit more fun to talk about when it's your business too, because you can drive a lot of different things.
It can be. It can be scary too.
Oh yeah,
Like to really think about, what am I trying to build here?
right.
And why? Getting like, why are we doing what we're doing, and what's the impact that we're trying to make?
Sure, sure. All right. So when you've got your goals developed, you understand this, and what's the right time? Obviously, everyone needs to think about goals, right? And many people have these goals in their head, but they don't necessarily put them onto paper, and they don't necessarily share them with others, right? I assume you encourage people to do that, get it
Yes.
out there.
Yes. And there's really never a bad time to do planning.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the next best time is today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just never too late. And then also, like, getting it documented.
Hmm.
So and then sharing it, as you said. So making sure that everyone that stays visible to everyone. And I really believe that when we put things out to the universe can help make it happen and
Yeah.
come true. And that universe might start with your company and your employees, but I think even if you go beyond that, when you share your goals, it makes them more real, and
Yeah.
other people can help you make them happen.
Well, you can define them. Sometimes we need that reminder ourselves, right? Because it's real easy to get caught up in the day to day.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good to just take a step back and go, how does this help me with my overall long term vision? And does it fit in? And maybe stressing out about it today doesn't make as much sense.
Yeah.
Maybe we should be doing something different.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, talked about goals, goal planning. Great point in time to do that right now with the last month of the year right here. Is amazing to say.
I know.
Do you still feel like the years keep flying by?
Faster and
Yeah.
faster.
It's just weird, but that's where we are.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing.
No, and this time of year goes really fast with the holidays.
It does.
But there's actually, like, one of the things I remind people of, like, there's really these sort of like little bursts of time that we really have to really work on our business.
Yeah.
And it's interrupted by, in the spring break.
Yep.
And then summer, and then people get really back to work after summertime, but then all of a sudden you're in the holidays.
Right.
And so really finding those periods of time where you can really stay focused and make a lot of progress.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we talked a little bit about this earlier off air. The darker evenings it's a tough thing for people too. So it's a great time to go, you know what? This is a great time to just bunker down, kind of come up with what you are really trying to do so that you can, see the light when the days start getting longer here real soon,
Yeah. Just a couple more weeks and then the days will start getting longer
it's
again.
great. Yeah. See, that's what happens. Yeah. It's almost here, guys. Yeah. It doesn't feel like that.
No.
Yeah. All right. So obviously now we've got our goals set up. We've talked about how important it is getting it out there, making sure we understand what our objectives are of our business. And really, as entrepreneurs, it kind of bleeds into our personal life always, right?
Yes, more than we realize.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's not a bad thing because it means you enjoy what you do, hopefully.
Hopefully. And that's worth talking about, because a lot of times people get into businesses. I had this experience myself, but getting into a business, and I loved the challenge of the business.
Yeah.
But I lost my passion for the business itself.
Sure.
And for a while, I didn't really think that mattered that much, because I was driven to be a great business owner anyway. But if you can find something that you're truly passionate about that really matters to you, it makes a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. I love what I do. So I'm blessed with that. And it drives, it's part of my hobby. So it doesn't bother me, to be able to do some things from a financial perspective, in my spare time, if you will. Right.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy doing it. But it wouldn't be the case if I didn't enjoy that.
No, and I realize that now more than ever because I love what I do now more
Yeah.
than anything I've ever done in my life. But really, everything I've done has led me to this point.
Of course.
And so all of my experiences make me able to help my clients better.
Right.
So,
Right. Okay. So now you've got your successful vision. You figured it out. We're laying it out, the framework there. Every business has a continuity plan that we have to make sure we keep in place, right? Keep the business running. But our businesses have the ability to live longer than us even, right? We have a shelf life. We, as an individual, I think that's not news to anybody. Hopefully listeners know I'm not breaking the news like Santa or anything that, we are going to pass away one day. Our businesses can't outlive us, and usually our goals outlive us. So part of that is succession planning, legacy planning, and make sure you set up your business for that long-term success as well, right?
yes, and businesses can outlive their owners, but sometimes that's a real barrier. So owner dependency is a real issue with business valuation.
Yeah.
And so if a business is too dependent on its owner, it's not going to live long
That's right.
or prosper well without that owner. And that's a really important conversation to have with a business owner to help them make their business less dependent on them.
Sure.
And that's a big change for an owner because their identity is wrapped up in their business. But the valuation is higher if there's not as much dependency on the owner. And that means developing really great systems, processes, great teams of people so that can continue on without the owner.
Yeah. Well, and, we talked a little bit about that succession plan and how involved we are. We're passionate as business owners. It's kind of our baby, right? When I hear the word serenity, it like lights my eyes up, right? Somebody just said that. Yeah, that means something to me much more than most, right? Because we live, we breathe, we see it, we feel it, and we've tried to live and bring that to others as well. But you have to make sure that vision can survive kind of without you as well. You got to almost give that organization its own set of legs.
Yes, very much so. And that's a transition process for
Yeah.
business owners, and thinking about how that's going to work without them, whether it's a planned transition or life throws something at you, which happens about 50% of the time.
Sure.
Death, disability, disagreement with a partner. A lot of things can happen in life where a transition happens unexpectedly.
Yeah.
And, if we really care about our business and the purpose of the business and the other people in our business, we really want to be mindful about how it can live without us.
Right. No, it's a big deal. And, you just hit on some of the D's there that we always talk about with business succession planning, right? Sometimes these things do happen to us.
Yes.
We want to make sure we're protected for those kind of situations. We want to make sure we have plans in place to develop contingency things there. But we also want to give ourselves as much control as we can, right? And I think we lose sight of that sometimes as well, but we have to have honest conversations. What does our business look like beyond us?
Right. Yeah. And the things we don't think are going to happen the vast majority of the time to a business owner. At some point, they might face a health crisis unexpectedly for themselves or a family member.
Right.
And it can be a real setback to an organization.
Yeah. Now you mentioned valuation, and I struggle. This is a topic I think a lot of business owners struggle with, right? Because you'll hear, hey, my landscaping company is, I'm thinking about getting out of this business, and I've heard my buddy just got, 5X is, his EBITDA or whatever, right? That's a pretty good number. I don't know. That's what came up from my mind. Yeah. So don't think you're getting 5Xs all the time, folks.
Right.
See, ooh, nice. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So,
but that's how a lot of people value their business is, I heard somebody else in the industry got X multiple, but there are so many other factors that go into the valuation of a business, and really there's a business valuation range. And once you establish that, then you can really dive into what are the levers that you can move to drive your business up to the high end of that valuation
Sure,
range.
sure. And so, for example, that could be that, hey, my business is worth 2 times, but maybe I want it to be worth 5 times. That's your range. What could we do to get it closer to? Now, what are some of those things that you can kind of think about to get you there?
So there's kind of 4 key areas. So people, processes, customers, and culture, or the social value of your organization. Which, so those 4 things, those are big buckets.
Yeah. But you got to focus on each of them individually and try to help improve upon them. Because I assume you can't just do one of them at a time, or just one of those. You have to, they all work together.
They all work together. You could focus your attention at any given moment on any of them.
Sure.
But yeah, they all work together, and they all affect the value of your business. And so that's why it's dangerous to rely on a valuation because of an industry standard, because every business is different. Every business has different profitability,
Right.
has different leadership teams, owner dependency, customer base. Do you have a wide customer base? Do you have one client that is a large percentage of your business? What's your social capital worth? What's the culture of the organization? Are people really happy? Are they truly loyal? And then your processes. And so, and that's like having a process and having it adhered to consistently, having
Sure.
it documented. I've worked with clients who thought that they had processes, but then they would struggle when people weren't following them. But then, when you start digging in a little bit, it's like, well, where is that process? Well, nobody really knows where it lives. It's just somebody believes there's a process, and then they wonder why everybody's not following it the same way.
Right.
So consistency.
Consistency makes a difference. Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, and I have a feeling by doing these things, the cool thing with this is these are all things that I think help your day-to-day practice as well, right?
Yes.
This is not something that, oh, great, when I go sell my business, that's when I'll see the value and the gains associated. No. This is going to make your life better today.
Yeah. It's when you are accelerating the value of your business, you are doing it both for the short term and for the long term.
Yeah.
These things matter today.
That's where you work on your business. And it doesn't have to be all the time, because we all understand, look, we have to take the trash out. We have to do the general work, things that have to get done. But at the end of the day, you also have to spend that time thinking about what your business is trying to do for you, for your family, for your community.
Yes.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And spending some time making sure that those processes are in place to make it to where that it's doing those things effectively and efficiently. It's going to give you some of those time things back as well.
Yep.
Can't make time.
No. The one thing that we all have the same amount of every day. So, but it also helps with the transferability of the organization. So when those things are documented, it's easier to transition.
Right. Well, I would think training people as well. Right.
Yes. That's another one of my little pet peeves is a lot of organizations like to think that they are growing and improving, but they don't have that same focus on growing and improving their team.
Sure.
And so days and years on the job doesn't necessarily make a team any better than it was last year.
Yeah.
And so really being focused on development of people. The world's changing at a fast pace. And so being sure that people are always being developed for the future.
Yeah.
And knowing that, people, a lot of times if an organization has a really loyal team, there's a bit of a constraint there because they don't know what they don't know. And if nobody's ever been in a larger, more complex organization, it's going to be difficult to have that team take you there.
Right. You got to focus on those kind of things and make sure you bring in the right folks to help you along the way as well.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's actually, there's a lot of one of the things I really like right now that's becoming more prevalent is fractional resources. So essentially contract part-time high level, very experienced people that an organization can utilize their experience without having to add them to the team full time.
Right.
And that is such a great way for an organization to grow in almost any area.
Yeah. Well, this leads me to almost needing to revisit my conversation I had with Clint Overton with the Boardroom Bullpen guys.
Oh,
because they just, we talked about that for a whole half hour.
Yes.
Just the importance of that and making sure people are in the right place. And it's okay. Not everyone's in the right place today, but they might have a better role. But you have to build it the right way, you know, and sometimes you outgrow roles and that's okay.
Yep. Yeah. It's
or roles outgrow you, I should say.
And it's such a great opportunity for people to continue their career and their contribution, you know, if they don't want to do full time anymore.
Yeah. So when we were talking about value of your business, do you think most businesses know what their business is worth?
No. I think most have some number in mind.
Yeah.
But I think,
which is usually emotional, right? Or something along those lines too.
I heard so-and-so got X.
Yeah.
But most people, there's a couple of things. So a lot of times people don't want to spend a large sum of money to get a valuation. And you don't have to. So there's other ways to figure out what your business valuation is. But also they don't want to maybe consciously think about that now. It's kind of like, well, I'm not interested in selling my business anytime soon. So, and so they don't stop and get that valuation.
Right.
But there really is value in understanding at any given time, the sooner the better, actually, what your true valuation is, because it's such a big part of an owner's entire financial portfolio. So if the number isn't accurate, it can really throw off their whole financial picture.
Right.
And if the value isn't as high as a business owner thinks it is, there can still be time to change it.
Sure.
But if they just keep a number in their head that isn't accurate and they wait until they're ready to sell or life throws something at them, they'll have missed the opportunity to work on the things that we were talking about.
Absolutely. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't really want the emotions tied into things with the unknowns when you're in a position of challenge either. If you're sitting there in a situation where you have no choice but to step away from your business and you haven't done some of those plannings, and in your mind you have an idea, but you don't really have it based on any concrete information, you're probably not going to make the right decision. It's probably going to be emotional, and you're not going to have the right thought process into it as well. Yeah. So it's important to have that understanding. And one of the things I always encourage business owners to do is make sure it's part of your portfolio conversation, right? Businesses are by and large, when I work with business owners, it's by and large the largest single asset within a portfolio.
Yes.
And that makes sense. And I encourage people, you shouldn't change that necessarily. It's producing your income. It's a large piece of what you do. You've built it. It's your baby. Nothing wrong with that. Still diversify where you can, of course, but you've got to understand what that value is, and you got to treat it like it's a portion of the bigger picture, right? Sometimes it's ignored, especially in the financial space, I've found, and it's unfortunate. So I encourage people to get that valuation because you have to understand what we're dealing with, because it helps you make better decisions within not just your business portfolio, but also your overall financial portfolio.
Yeah, it's typically as you said, the largest asset for a business owner is their business.
Yeah,
and really, if you're trying to create generational wealth, and understanding what that number really is, and having a sense of how that transition can work if you're in an emotional or difficult time.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the key things that I always talk about is that legacy factor, right? Our business has the ability to outlive us. Our goals have the ability to outlive us. But if we don't have the conversations about what we want from our business as we step aside, whether forced to or not, what's that identity of that business going to look like?
Yeah, it can be tricky.
Yeah.
Like do you have a partner? Who are you doing business with?
Mm-hmm.
If you end up, if something happens and your spouse is now running the business, do they want to? Are they able to? Are you transitioning to children? There's there's a lot of factors.
And do they want to?
Right.
Do the children want to be involved in the business? You know?
And so many times they don't. You know, it's why a lot of businesses don't survive those generational changes, is because it's not the child's passion.
Right. But if you talk about those that do have that generational passion, that generational success, they've planned for it all along. It's been open, it's been honest, it's been part of that, and they've trained their children, their grandchildren to be part of that business. And it's been because of mutual desire as well, you know?
Yeah, having those open, honest conversations.
Yeah, makes a big difference.
Can really help all the time. I mean, that's a
general
big,
life.
that's a big topic.
Yeah,
have the hard conversations. Have open, honest conversations about whatever it is in life, because it can make a really big difference.
It does. And it's just that much more important with business owners, right? Because there's so much more to it that you can control, right? If you're working in an employment situation, you're going to retire, there's some things that kind of were done for you in some ways, right? But as a business owner, if you're not doing those things within your business, there's no one doing them for you.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure we put the right resources in place to do those things that, you know, the corporate world, we get a chance to take for granted at times. Not that it's easy by any stretch, because we still do plenty of work there.
Yeah.
But if we don't put the right 401k plan in place, if we don't put the right succession plan in place, if our goal is to transition to the next generation, we haven't had that conversation with our kiddo, how's that going to work?
Yeah.
Right. And then who are you? If you want to sell your business and step completely away, who do you want to sell it to? How are you going to define that? Right. And if you wanted to transition to somebody in your family, could you do some things to help them purchase it from you more efficiently? There's all kinds of solutions that exist to do this, but you got to have that upfront, honest conversation. Yeah.
Well, and kind of going back to our earlier conversation about people and developing people. So same thing applies to a child that might be part of the ownership team later in life, is really being sure that they're fully developed and getting the experiences, like the EO entrepreneur organization would be a great peer group to help them develop their leadership skills. Obviously, a college education, maybe that's the right answer, maybe not. But a lot of times it's learning all the different aspects of the business and have the opportunity to try things and fail.
Right. I think that's where the EO organization is really valuable, because you see so many fellow entrepreneurship stories.
Yes.
And you mentioned the college education thing. College education is not teaching you how to be an entrepreneur.
No.
It's a mindset. It's not for everybody. It's very rewarding, but it's also incredibly stressful.
Yeah,
it's just
very
different,
challenging.
Some people thrive, some people don't, and it's not something that you just learn in a college classroom.
Yeah.
So,
well, one of the great benefits of a peer group such as EO is that you learn that you're not alone. Everybody's struggling with the same things.
Yeah.
It might be a different day or a different year, but every business has these same component parts: people, processes, culture, and customers.
Yeah.
So everybody struggles with that at some point, and just knowing that you're not alone is really helpful.
It is, and especially when it is a business that you are passionate about and it becomes part of your personal life as well. Because you find out you're not alone there either.
Right.
It's amazing. Many of us are in the same position. My wife works with us as well. I bring my work home every day. I bring my personal life into here every day. It works.
And that, that can be its own unique challenge. I have clients who are business owner spouses, and everybody does it different, so some try not to take it home.
Right.
And that becomes its own challenge, because then you can't talk about work when you get home. But finding that balance that works for you.
Yeah.
And having other people that you can talk to.
Yeah.
Because as business owners, we realize we can't a lot of people don't understand what it's like to be a business owner. So it's not an easy conversation with maybe a lot of your friends.
And I think that we'll just wrap up with the final thought of, you don't have to do this alone.
No.
Right. And I think we said, how do you eat the elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
Yep.
And if you do these kind of things, you get your right peer groups in place. You can pick up some good helpful tips to make sure you get this stuff right in place for you, right?
Yeah, definitely not alone, and surrounding yourself with the right people always makes an incredible difference.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Really fun.
Folks, as we think about Small Business Saturday, Small Business Weekend, it's important to think about things that drive small businesses. It's important to think about the ramifications of you as a business owner and making sure you improve the biggest asset in your portfolio. It, quite frankly, is your business. And if it's not today, it probably will be in the future. And if it's not in your plan to have it as the biggest asset in your business in the future, well, maybe it's because you don't have that right plan in place. We need to think about these things. We need to understand what our business is there to do, what our objective is, and that starts with planning in advance. It starts with goals, understanding what your objectives are. Just like when we're dealing with retirement planning, it's no different. We have to make sure we understand goals, objectives, concerns, and what we're trying to figure out from there, okay? Your business is probably one of the most significant assets you have. You need to make sure you have that value. You need to know what it's worth. You need to make sure it's included within your overall perspective and your portfolio. Because if you've got a bunch of things bouncing around that aren't going to be aligned to the same goals and objectives, it's not going to work. You got to make sure all of your assets are rolling in the same fluid direction. And that takes financial planning to a little bit of a different level as a business owner. You have to think about and understand the business asset as a component of your portfolio. The next thing you have to think about is the protection side of things. You have to make sure your business assets are protected. We don't know what tomorrow can bring, but we need to make sure that whatever can happen, we have that protection in place, because if it's your business that's impacted, it affects your family and your future. So you got to make sure protection is in place, okay? Third thing we have to think about as business owners, the partnership we have with the IRS. We have a silent partner in the IRS. We didn't choose them. They don't. We would love to opt out of that partnership, wouldn't we? I wish we could opt out of the partnership we have with the IRS, but we can't. It's part of it. We have to pay that tax risk. We have to pay taxes. It's risk, tax risk. That's what it's called. And we need to make sure we mitigate it where possible. Okay. Fourth thing we need to think about as business owners relates to succession planning. We want to make sure our business has the ability to pass along on our terms, not on somebody else's. We want to make sure we plan for it. We need to make sure we think about it. We need to make sure we understand what that plan looks like for us, and that it's in our best interest and it fits our goals, hopes, and dreams, because we want to make sure it has the ability to continue along for our family, or maybe just exiting out completely. Either way is fine, and maybe fluidity of that decision is something that's of interest. It's okay. But the best time to think about it is when you can make that decision yourself. Finally, folks, businesses can outlive you, okay? Legacy. Legacy is important from an individual perspective, but it's also important from a business perspective. Your business can outlive you. You've got to make sure you have a plan in place that's defined. And that starts with a conversation. Really, all of these things start with having key conversations. Sometimes they're uncomfortable, but try to be uncomfortable with that uncomfortableness, okay? It's not easy to have an uncomfortable conversation, but it is important. You get clarity, you get focus, you alleviate confusion, you reduce conflict for your loved ones. Those are the conversations we have in our office here at Serenity Wealth. If those are conversations that are missing from your life, let's get some time on the calendar, have a quick conversation. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Serenity Wealth Now Radio and Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets.
Serenity Now! This is Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Request a free copy of Chris's latest book, The New Holistic Retirement, by visiting SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.